Nicholas Cross was the kind of man who appeared to have everything. At 42, he sat atop an empire he had built from scratch, Crosstech Industries, a leading name in luxury tech innovations. The media adored him. Shareholders revered him. Business magazines printed his sharp-jawed face on glossy covers under headlines like, "Billionaire Genius of Our Era." To the world, he was a symbol of power, prestige, and poise. But behind the towering glass walls of his penthouse and the charm of public appearances, Nicholas harbored a secret darker than anyone could imagine. At his side stood Ariana Cross, his radiant, elegant wife of 7 years. 5 months pregnant with their first child, she glowed with anticipation. Her eyes sparkled when she spoke about the nursery, her voice softened every time she mentioned the baby. To outsiders, they were the picture of domestic bliss, an ideal power couple preparing for a beautiful future. But Nicholas was drifting. His eyes lingered too long on his phone. His kisses were rushed. Late-night meetings became more frequent, and his smiles became distant shadows of affection. The reason? Sabrina Hale. Sabrina was everything Ariana wasn't, on purpose. Younger, bolder, with eyes that dared you to look away. She was his new obsession, a woman who knew how to manipulate every thread of his ego and desire. Their affair had started as a distraction, a thrill. But now, it was something more dangerous. Sabrina wasn't just sleeping with a billionaire. She was making plans. And those plans didn't include Ariana or her unborn child. Sabrina Hale hadn't stumbled into Nicholas Cross's life by accident. She had studied him for months. From interviews to boardroom recordings, financial reports to gossip columns, she memorized his habits, preferences, and weaknesses like a surgeon learning a body before cutting into it. When a position opened up for a senior executive assistant at Crosstech, Sabrina was already 10 steps ahead. Armed with a fake resume, forged credentials, and a striking red lipstick that matched her cold ambition, she walked into his office like she already owned it. Nicholas was intrigued from the beginning. Sabrina was sharp, efficient, and disarmingly charming. She had a talent for reading his moods, saying just the right thing, never pushing too far, at least not at first. Over late-night strategy meetings and travel itineraries, her skirts got shorter and her compliments sweeter. She never rushed him. She let him chase. That was the secret. Once the affair began, Sabrina shifted gears. She wrapped herself around his world with quiet precision, whispering doubts into his ear like smoke. "Do you think you're ready for a baby, Nicholas? I mean, with your schedule. Ariana seems so demanding lately. Are you sure she's not trying to trap you?" She fed him lies so carefully crafted they sounded like his own thoughts. She painted Ariana as manipulative, distant, even unfaithful. Then came the final touch, planted doubt. Sabrina suggested, casually at first, that the baby might not even be his. "You've been gone so much," she said, her voice soft and concerned. "You really trust her completely?" That one question festered like poison. But while Nicholas was falling deeper under her spell, Sabrina was already thinking bigger. The problem wasn't just Ariana's existence, it was the baby. If Ariana disappeared, Sabrina wouldn't just have Nicholas's heart. She'd have his fortune. Ariana Cross had always believed that trust was the foundation of their marriage. Nicholas had once held her hand in the hospital waiting room when she miscarried their first child, whispering promises that they'd try again, that they'd never give up. Now, 5 months into a new pregnancy, Ariana should have felt secure, loved, protected. But instead, she felt invisible. It started with the little things. Nicholas began missing her obstetrician appointments with vague excuses, sudden board meetings, investor calls that ran late, urgent overseas deals. He used to press his hand gently to her stomach every night, whispering to the baby. Lately, he didn't even kiss her goodbye in the morning. Ariana noticed how he always kept his phone face down, how he slipped into the hallway at odd hours to take calls in hushed tones. His cologne sometimes lingered too strongly, like he had reapplied it between destinations. She told herself not to overthink it. But the seed of suspicion had already been planted. One night, as rain tapped gently against the bedroom windows, Ariana stirred from sleep to the muffled sound of Nicholas's voice downstairs. She padded silently toward the staircase, careful not to alert him. From behind the cracked office door, she caught fragments of a conversation. Low, urgent, intimate. "No, she doesn't suspect anything. I told you, she's too distracted with the baby. I'll take care of it soon." Her blood ran cold. The call ended abruptly. Ariana slipped back into bed, heart pounding, mind racing. Something was terribly wrong. And if she was going to protect herself, and her unborn child, she needed to know the truth. No more doubts. No more waiting. Tomorrow, she would begin uncovering whatever Nicholas was hiding. The next morning, Ariana stood in front of the mirror brushing her hair, her face calm, almost too calm. Inside though, her thoughts were a chaotic storm. The memory of Nicholas's whispered words the night before haunted her like a shadow she couldn't escape. She knew confronting him wouldn't work, not without proof. Nicholas was clever, always composed. If he was hiding something, he would lie without blinking. She needed something undeniable. That afternoon, while Nicholas was at a shareholder meeting, Ariana acted. She went to the office supply drawer and pulled out the sleek silver pen Nicholas had once given her as a gift. It looked ordinary, but after her morning visit to a small electronics store on the edge of town, it now held a tiny, high-frequency microphone disguised near the clip. It could record over 24 hours of audio without detection. With her heart thudding in her chest, she slipped into Nicholas's home office. Everything was pristine, immaculately placed, just like him. Carefully, she placed the pen inside the drawer beside his notepad, knowing he reached for it often. The risk made her hands tremble, but she forced herself to stay calm. She told herself it was just to confirm an affair, maybe a name, maybe a date. Nothing more. Still, a voice deep inside her whispered something darker. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about survival. Ariana closed the drawer and walked out, heart pounding. She had taken the first step. And she had no idea just how much that hidden mic was about to reveal. It was past midnight when Ariana slipped out of bed and retrieved the pen from Nicholas's office. Her hands trembled as she inserted the USB into her laptop, waiting as the recording transferred. She didn't know what she expected to hear, perhaps flirtatious whispers, evidence of deception. But nothing could have prepared her for the horror that unfolded through her speakers. Nicholas's voice came first, calm and clipped, the way he always sounded during board meetings. Then came Sabrina's, silky, teasing, but with an unmistakable undercurrent of cold calculation. "I'm tired of pretending," she said. "How long are you going to keep dragging this out? She's 5 months along, Nick. That baby is tying your hands." "She's not stupid," Nicholas muttered. "If I make the wrong move, she'll take everything. Half the board still respects her. She helped build this company's image." Sabrina scoffed. "So let's fix it." "No, Ariana, no problem. You inherit everything. The board backs you. No messy divorce, no headlines." There was a pause. Nicholas said nothing. Then Sabrina leaned in. "A car accident," she whispered. "Fast. Clean. Heartbreaking, of course, but unavoidable. She's been so tired lately. Maybe she loses focus on the road. You know, tragic, but believable." Ariana felt the blood drain from her face. Her breath hitched as tears welled in her eyes. This wasn't just betrayal. It was murder. The man she loved, the father of her unborn child, was letting someone else plot her death, and saying nothing to stop it. She played the recording again, her stomach twisting tighter with every word. Nicholas didn't protest. He didn't push back. He was silent because he was considering it. Because deep down, a part of him wanted it. She closed the laptop, her heart racing. The evidence was there. Now she had to disappear, before they made her vanish for good. Ariana sat frozen in front of the laptop, her hands clenched around her growing belly as the recording echoed in her ears for the third time. Her child kicked gently, a flutter she had once found comforting. Now it felt like a desperate plea from within, run. She didn't have time to fall apart. Not now. Not when death was being whispered in the shadows of her own home. With trembling fingers, she copied the audio file onto a separate USB drive. Then she took another step, one she never thought she'd have to make. From her jewelry box, hidden beneath a velvet lining, she retrieved an untraceable prepaid phone and a list she had prepared in secret over the last 2 days as her suspicions deepened. At the top of the list was one name, Detective Lena Holt, her childhood friend, now a private investigator with a reputation for handling delicate matters with ruthless precision. Ariana slipped out before dawn, her wedding ring left on the marble counter in the bathroom, her phone abandoned on the bed to suggest she was still asleep. She didn't take her car. She didn't alert her family. She wore plain clothes, dyed her hair dark, and paid in cash for a long-distance ride to a hidden women's shelter 3 cities away. At the nearest post office, she mailed the USB in a padded envelope marked, "For Lena only, urgent." Inside, she also wrote one sentence, "If anything happens to me or my baby, Nicholas Cross and Sabrina Hale are behind it." Then she vanished, erasing herself from her old life like a ghost. When Nicholas returned home to find Ariana gone, his initial reaction wasn't fear, it was annoyance. Her phone on the bed, her ring on the counter, no note, no message. He paced the master bedroom, jaw clenched, mind spinning. But Sabrina, when he called her in a panic, knew immediately what it meant. "She knows," she hissed. "She found something. That's the only explanation." Nicholas hesitated. "She couldn't have. I didn't say anything." "Then she was recording us," Sabrina snapped. "We need to take control of the story, before she does." Within hours, Sabrina was orchestrating their next move. She was brilliant in her cruelty, directing Nicholas like a puppet. She convinced him that if they played the victim card first, they could discredit anything Ariana might reveal. "We say she's mentally unstable," she said calmly, fingers tapping a keyboard. "That the pregnancy caused a psychotic break. Hallucinations. Suicidal thoughts. Trust me, it'll work." Nicholas was hesitant, but Sabrina was relentless. She forged emails from Ariana's account to a fake therapist, referencing depressive episodes and anxiety. They created a private journal filled with false entries, pages describing paranoia, imagined betrayals, fear of the baby. Then they staged the scene. A broken glass on the floor. One of Ariana's maternity dresses torn in the corner. A vague, half-written note beside her laptop. "I can't do this anymore." By the time Nicholas filed a missing persons report, he was already rehearsing tears for the cameras. Sabrina stood by his side, her face painted in concern. To the world, Ariana was unraveling. And if she returned, they'd make sure no one believed her. Detective Lena Holt sat alone in her office, the lights dimmed, the only sound in the room the soft hum of her laptop as the audio file played. Her expression didn't change as Nicholas's voice filled the space, nor did she flinch when Sabrina whispered the words, "car accident." But her jaw tightened, and her fingers tapped rhythmically against her desk. This wasn't just a case. This was personal. She listened to the recording twice more, then encrypted the file and backed it up in 3 locations. Ariana hadn't run away, she had escaped. And Lena knew she had little time before Nicholas and his venomous mistress realized their plan was unraveling. When Nicholas filed the missing persons report the next morning, Lena was already waiting. She kept her voice low and professional, feigning sympathy. "We'll do everything we can," she promised. "But let's not jump to conclusions just yet." She used her influence in the department to delay the official alert, citing Ariana's fragile emotional state as a reason to handle things delicately. Behind the scenes, Lena mobilized a small, trusted task force, officers with clean records and no ties to Crosstech. They began tailing Sabrina and Nicholas, documenting every movement. Hidden cameras were installed near Sabrina's luxury condo. Cell phone pings were monitored. Financial records flagged. Every smile Nicholas gave to the cameras. Every carefully rehearsed plea for Ariana's safe return. Every moment Sabrina emerged in designer heels and crocodile tears, it was all recorded. Lena didn't plan to confront them yet. She needed airtight evidence, proof that couldn't be spun or buried under Nicholas's wealth. The kind of evidence that destroyed reputations in court and careers in headlines. A trap was being set. And both of them were walking straight into it. Sabrina's calm exterior began to crack. It started with the black SUV she noticed behind her twice in one day. Then a woman at the coffee shop stared a second too long. Even the doorman at her building suddenly seemed different. Less polite. More watchful. "They're watching me," she hissed into her phone, pacing her marble kitchen in stilettos and panic. "I don't care what you say, Nicholas. Someone is following me." Nicholas tried to dismiss her fears at first, but she wouldn't be silenced. Her paranoia grew with each passing hour. When she noticed her credit card flagged for unusual activity on a grocery store purchase she hadn't made, she snapped. That night, Sabrina stormed into Nicholas's penthouse, her nerves frayed. "We need to end this, now," she shouted, slamming her handbag onto the glass table. "She's not just gone, Nicholas. She's planning something. And if we don't shut her up, we're both screwed." Nicholas tried to calm her, but Sabrina wasn't listening. Her voice rose, shrill and reckless. "We should have killed her when we had the chance. You were too scared, too soft. I gave you the plan, handed you the perfect setup. But no, you just stood there while she ran." Across the street, in a dark surveillance van, Detective Lena listened through high-frequency audio tapped directly into Nicholas's penthouse. Her team, positioned discreetly on nearby rooftops and elevators, recorded every word. Inside, Sabrina was unraveling, her mask slipping faster than Nicholas could contain it. He tried to shush her, but it was too late. Every damning phrase was captured. Every detail confirmed. Outside, Lena leaned into her mic and gave the quiet command. "Stand by. We have them." By dawn the next day, the storm had already begun. Detective Lena Holt, knowing the power of public pressure, delivered the final blow not in a courtroom, but through the media. Carefully edited audio files, transcripts, and surveillance footage were compiled and sent to trusted journalists under embargo. Within hours, the headlines spread like wildfire across every major news outlet. Billionaire and Mistress caught plotting to kill pregnant wife. The footage was damning. Sabrina pacing, shouting about murder, Nicholas standing silently as she laid out their scheme. The audio recordings backed every claim. The couple's plan to frame Ariana as mentally unstable. The staged accident. The whispered words of betrayal. The evidence was irrefutable. News anchors gasped on live television. Online forums exploded with outrage. Social media feeds flooded with hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Ariana. Hashtag Billionaire Murder Plot. Hashtag Sabrina Exposed. Protesters even gathered outside Crossteca's headquarters, holding signs that read, "No more blood money," and "Arrest them now." And far away from the chaos, in the quiet safety of the women's shelter, Ariana sat in front of a small television, her hands resting protectively on her round belly. Tears streamed down her face, not from fear or sadness, but from the relief of finally being heard. Finally being believed. The world now knew the truth. She wasn't the fragile, delusional wife they tried to portray. She was a survivor. And the people who tried to silence her would soon answer for everything they'd done. Nicholas Cross was arrested at his office the following morning, still dressed in his tailored navy suit, surrounded by stunned employees and flashing cameras. The cuffs clicked around his wrists as detectives read him his rights. His face remained cold, expressionless, as if still processing the fall from power. Hours later, Sabrina was taken from her luxury condo in handcuffs, her mascara streaked and designer robe barely covering her trembling form. During interrogation, Sabrina turned instantly, throwing Nicholas under the bus. "It was his idea," she cried. "He wanted her gone, I just helped." But the recordings, the staged evidence, the forged documents, all of it told another story. A story of two people bound by greed, arrogance, and cruelty. The trial was swift and brutal. Prosecutors presented a mountain of proof, including Ariana's testimony given remotely from a protected location. The jury didn't need long. Nicholas was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and attempted harm to an unborn child. Sabrina, charged as a co-conspirator, received nearly the same sentence. Both were sentenced to decades in prison without parole. And as the doors to their cells slammed shut, far from the cameras and headlines, Ariana finally exhaled. Her baby safe within her, her future no longer shadowed by fear. Justice had come. 1 year later, Ariana sat on the porch of a quiet cottage surrounded by trees, her baby boy nestled peacefully in her arms. He had his father's eyes, but none of his darkness. She named him Leo, after the strength it took to survive. In the months after the trial, Ariana wrote her story with raw honesty, detailing the betrayal, the fear, and the courage that led her to act. The memoir, titled Mic Drop, The Hidden Voice That Saved My Life, struck a powerful chord across the country and quickly rose to bestseller lists. But Ariana wanted more than headlines. She wanted impact. With earnings from her book, she launched the Mic Project, a non-profit dedicated to helping women escape abusive and life-threatening relationships. The organization provided hidden recording devices, safe housing, legal aid, and emergency transport. Her voice, once silenced by fear, was now a beacon for others. She had turned survival into purpose.